a little madness has been happening over the weekend. We've got a Final Four set. But Lou Terminello, we're going to get your take on all that. I want to alert you, though. We got an interview next month. Jim Abbott, because it's Limb Loss Awareness Month next month. So we got to find a way to get him on.
Hey, outstanding pitcher, pitched a no-hitter, was able to overcome his handicap to have a real good major league career. And he would be an interesting interview. And Alex, good morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good night, as they say.
And thanks for having me back, as you always do. I appreciate it.
So, yeah, I just found this thing from Naked Prosthetics about limb loss awareness. Turns out the Chiefs have an above-elbow amputee assistant coach, Porter Elliott. Did you know that?
I did not.
So we'll be highlighting a lot of that in the next month. And as you know, one leg up for a reason. And I'm not an amputee. That's the most interesting part of it all. But the name just fits. So there you go. All right, let's talk about this weekend. And firstly, I got to give a shout out to a kid I met at the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System Conference from Houston. Yes, the University of Houston Coug Radio is what they call it. Jacobson, because his school, for the first time since 1984, are going to the Final Four. And Lou, I don't know if you saw Jim Nance get in the picture there, but that was pretty cool because he's an alumnus of University of Houston.
Well, he's an alumnus of the University of Houston. He's credited with a Phi Slamma Jamma of giving that Houston team in the 80s. They went back-to-back to the Final Four in 83 and 84. Didn't win it, but he's credited with that. I think Freddie Couples was his college roommate.
The golfer, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, the golfer. Freddie Couples was a college roommate. I'm almost sure of that. Nance is a great broadcaster, obviously. No longer doing the tournament. And
correct me if I'm wrong, he's going to get to call his alma mater next week, right?
Excuse me?
He's going to get to call his alma mater. He didn't retire from the March Madness, did he already? I don't remember.
Oh, yes. No, he did. Oh, yeah, no, he did. I mean, this is Iron's going to do it. Iron Eagle's going to do it. This is his second year that Iron's going to do it. And I don't know if you saw it, Jim Nance is going to continue to do the Masters through 2036, which is the 100th anniversary of the Masters. And then Jim Nance will retire. He probably will be in his mid-70s by then. So great broadcaster, a Jersey Shore guy. He's from Jersey Shore.
So kudos to him for being on the mic for all those years, and to get to see his Houston team is pretty special. And then, so you got that. And by the way, 75% of my picks, we talked about it the very first week of it after Selection Sunday. I'm still proud of 75%. Maybe if I went with Florida, I'd be in 100%, but maybe I did go with my heart with St. John's a little bit there. What do you think?
You probably did go with your heart, because I don't think St. John's could have beaten Florida. But let me say one thing about Florida. They haven't played. They've gone to the Final Four. They haven't played their A game yet. And Walter Clayton Jr. has come up with some clutch shots for them. And the ironic thing is, Walter Clayton Jr. came from Iona. He was a transfer from Iona in the portal. So you're not going to see players sticking with Iona or those type teams as we move forward. That's why I think we have all number ones for the first time since 2008. I think you're going to see a lot of high number one and number two seeds moving forward. We're not going to see like North Carolina stay an 11 seed very often anymore like last year. But the four teams that are here, they're all can win it.
Well, wait a minute. You say, why is that? Because of the money factor, right?
Because of the money. Because of the money factor. I mean, guys were in the portal before their team was knocked out of the tournament.
I know.
That's crazy.
Hey, even some coaches were, but that's a different story.
Yeah, and the same thing with the coaches. You're 100% correct, Alex. That is just as bad.
But I'll tell you this. We'll get to the rest of the bracket, because yesterday, Johnny Broom, Auburn. We talked about this a little bit off air last week. Some of these kids, you don't know their names until the big stage. Am I right?
You're 100% right. It's because college basketball, and this is even before the portal and the NIL money, had become very transient. 1 year, and you can't draw a connection with the guy. That's why coaches are the dominant figures in college basketball, not the players. The coaches are, because the coaches are more steady in their in staying at these colleges. But you're right with the players. I don't care who they are. Now watching them in the tournament might be the first time we've seen some of these guys.
Absolutely.
Without question. And there's a lot of good talent out there. We just don't know them like we used to. And that connection that you had between, say, Georgetown, where Patrick Ewing and that great Georgetown team played 4 years. Yeah, I know they only won one championship, but they got to the Final Four 3 out of those 4 years. You had a connection. Louisville in the 80s, and obviously when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, UCLA.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen. It's sad.
Well, you know why? The transfer portal has changed everything, right? So we often wonder with pro guys, can they spend a whole career with their team? Now we literally have to ask ourselves, can a guy spend a whole career in the college level? And now we're seeing after the big run by St. John's, and I mean the regular season, the Big East, getting the tournament win the first time, that maybe that 5 minutes against Arkansas led to the biggest decision for St. John's has to deal with now, which is R.J. Lewis entering the portal. I mean, is he that salty? Can I use a little modern day lingo? Is he salty about this or what?
He could be. Now, he said somebody close to him said no, so that he has great regard for Rick Pitino. I don't know that. NBA scouts say he won't be a first-round pick. I was a little surprised by that. I thought maybe at the lower end of the first round or the second, obviously maybe a second round. But if he goes to another school, this is going to be his third school, just like Kadari Richmond, Syracuse, right. Seton Hall, St. John's, Louis Jr., UMass, St. John's, and question mark if he goes somewhere else. Even Johnny Broome, he's probably the second best player in the country, or second or third, whatever, behind Cooper Flagg, who's definitely the best. Mm-hmm. And but he came from Murray State. Murray State, which has made runs in the tournament, they've won a couple of games. You can't lose a guy like Johnny Broome. You can't. Right. And that's why I don't think we'll ever see those teams again unless there's changes.
And what can the NCAA do? Because, I mean, a lot of people actually find it outrageous that all number ones made it. This is the world we're in. It's like number one's making it is controversial now. Can you believe that?
Well, it's controversial because, let's face it, were these first 2 weeks of the tournament a little bit of a snooze fest? Was there really any compelling games and situations? Yeah, there were some close games, Arkansas and Texas Tech. We could pick out some close games, but there was nothing that was super compelling. There just wasn't. Now, again, this could just be this year that all these 1 seeds make it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen down the road. I think it's probably going to be closer to 1 and 2 seeds every year moving forward, unless there's changes in the NCAA, and we don't know that. Is the SEC and the Big Ten going to split from the NCAA? Where does that leave some of the other conferences? We really are in uncharted territory moving forward, and I don't know if it's going to be great. I really don't.
Well, we'll have to find out. One last thing on the Johnnies, and we can get into them the whole episode here because I think we all fell in love as a city with this team's run. I mean, they win the first tournament game in 25 years. Pitino, you could say, was outcoached by Calipari, but I just don't know why they weren't making their shots. I mean, you're under the hoop at 62-60 and you miss it. Pitino's not making that shot. What happened? Was the defense that good, or was St. John's nervous? What do you think?
Well, anything can happen, as I always beat a dead horse, can happen in one game. I think that they could have been a little uptight. Now, Arkansas also missed a lot of layups in that game.
I think they only had three three-pointers, by the way, the whole game, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, and I think in Arkansas, only shot 2 for 19 from behind the arc. You can't blame the coach, but I think that Pitino might have got out coached by Cal down the stretch. I don't care that Luis Jr. was 3 for 17. He's come through for you all year. He's the biggest player of the year. It's a close game. You just need a couple of shots. Look at the Texas Tech Arkansas game. At the end of the game, guys who hadn't hit shots for Texas Tech the whole game, came through making big shots and got them a win that they probably didn't deserve. The ironic thing is Texas Tech didn't deserve to beat Arkansas. They were outplayed most of the game. And Texas Tech probably outplayed Florida, and Florida came through at the end. That's what I mean. In these one-offs, these single eliminations, you gotta every possession, every free throw the detail orientation's got to be there. If you're not detail oriented on every possession, that can cost you the tournament. Now St. John's going forward, they'll be fine. They'll be good. I
hate to say this because so much was made about Zuby returning. Remember that whole big deal last week? I almost feel like the free agency is going to hit the NCAA. I feel like we're in a free agent market here too.
No question. It is a free agency market. And they're even talking about that some of these players that the NCAA might say these guys have to sign contracts. So who knows what's going to be, how it's going to be. So, but
St. And off air, we've been battling about this. I still think St. John's needs more funding, even though they have Repoli. Are we going to see both Cohen and Repoli just inject all the money in the world in Queens, and both these teams, the Mets and St. John's, are going to win championships? What's going to happen here?
Well, still, you have to win it on a court, on the field. I assume that whatever Repoli is asked for by Coach Pitino as far as money, he's going to get. Repoli's a billionaire, and obviously he's a horse guy and he's a sports guy. When I was with the Nets, he almost bought the Nets. And I think he's a Mets fan too, and I think he might have been in the mix for the Mets before Cohen got involved. I'm not so sure about that. But St. John's has already signed this Joshin Sanin, a sharpshooter from Georgia. He'll be on the team. They might get the kid from Providence, Bryce Hopkins, a very good player, originally at Kentucky, recruited by Calipari. And they're looking at some European sharpshooter who I don't know anything about, but apparently he's a sharpshooter from Europe. And my
God, you weren't talking like this during the Carter second days, were you? This is such a totally different era.
Well, because it's a different era. It really is. But that being said, as we go to the final, and we'll wrap up with St. John's, they're going to be fine. They'll be fine. And the Big East is going to be interesting next year because you have Richard Pitino becoming the head coach at Xavier, and Kevin Willard officially, which the worst kept secret in the world for the last 2 weeks, becoming the head coach at Villanova. So we got some good coaches in the Big East. Now they gotta get the talent. So that'll be interesting. And 25-26 season will be here before you know it. But
by the way, if Pitino won on Saturday, he would have still gone out to see his son. I mean, the idea that after he lost, he's going to go see his son. Why wouldn't he go see his son play the coach the next day? That's
absolutely,
natural.
Without question. Anybody who criticizes him, what is he supposed to be in mourning because he lost? Of course, he's unhappy that he lost. But he had to go see his son the next day, and it wasn't like he went. He had to go to Cleveland. The game was in Cleveland. He did the right thing.
Absolutely. All right. I don't want to torpedo this episode at all, but we got to go there, Louis. We got to go there. 36 runs for the Yankees opening weekend, 32 in 2 games. And I don't want to believe it's all because of a bat. They've maybe got a different mindset about themselves beyond just a new bat. What do you think?
Well, Alex, as I told you off air yesterday, I knew nothing about these torpedo bats until this weekend. I guess Major League Baseball has initially approved them, so it's not like the Yankees cheated. Apparently, after getting swept by the Braves this weekend, the Braves getting swept by the Padres this weekend, they are now going to order torpedo bats.
Hey, you know what I say? The Yanks have one leg up right now. That's how I look at it.
Okay, I hear you and I agree with you. But the 5 Yankees who used the torpedo bats this weekend all had big weekends. I mean, is Chisholm going to hit 40 home runs this year? A guy who might hit 15? Is Volpe going to hit 35? Is Goldschmidt going to find that fountain of youth? Bellinger's going to start hitting home runs. And I mean, that home run he hit the other day, I mean, I thought that was going to go through the bleachers. So, and I had no idea about the torpedo bats when I was watching that barrage on Saturday. But if other teams are going to start using them, and I guess this physicist that the Yankees hired, this Aaron Lenhart from a former MIT physicist, I don't know. I don't know if this is confirmed, that the Marlins have already had him come down or he's coming down to see them. This is the problem. If we're going to see 8 or 9 home runs a game and see 20 to 9, 15 to 5, 15 to 11, it's almost like what happened at the end of the last century with McGuire and Sosa. I mean, Sammy Sosa had 60 home runs 3 years in a row. You know, that's so we'll have to wait and see. The Yankees didn't do anything wrong. Now all the teams know.
But I mean, the other thing I say is you still have to have the hand-eye coordination. So I don't know. Maybe they're just some kind of different mindset that they've.
Well, Anthony Volpe's bat speed increased by 3 miles per hour. So they all of the 5 Yankees who use the torpedo bat, their bat speed increased with the new torpedo bat. Now again,
and Dave Portnoy, Judge did not use the bat. Just to get that clear, Aaron Judge did not use the bat. And Lou told me.
Can you imagine if he does? If he does, he might hit it over the Hudson River.
Oh my god! Onto 161st Street. Really, that's where it would go.
I mean, whoa. So, but it'll be. It's in its infancy. We'll see how it progresses during the course of the year, and if it makes the game a joke, then Major League Baseball might have to step in. You know, they've changed the baseballs over the years. One year that has a rabbit in it. Other years they make it deader. So we'll see.
We'll have to see. And, you know, the pitching held its own. Look, the Yankees score that runs, but he still got a pitch, and they held their own against the Brewers. Do you think, because I see now Milwaukee's going back home, do you think there's a psyche thing with Nestor? Because obviously that home run given up to Freeman would damage anybody's psyche. And
in last year's World Series.
Yes. You're asking him to recover from that in a few months' time. I don't know if he's fully recovered from that, Lou.
Well, many times I can't say that you're wrong. I don't know. I can't say that you're right. But to have the combination of the poor guy throwing the home run ball to Freeman in Game 1 of the World Series, and then have his first 3 pitches back in his old ballpark against his old team is almost
against a fan base that's already mad at him for that pitch against Freeman. By the way,
that was unbelievable.
5 homers.
That was unbelievable. Those
now,
first
do you
3
think
pitches.
I don't blame him for leaving the media in the lurch, but I guess he handled it pretty poorly on Saturday. So.
Well, again, I think, and I'm not sure, he was supposed to talk to the media before the game yesterday. That's fine. Obviously, basically what you said, that between what happened last year in the World Series, the pitch to Freeman, and what happened Saturday, you got to give the guy a chance to decompress. I mean, he's a human being. Maybe he doesn't want to talk to the media. Maybe he's afraid he's going to say the wrong things if he speaks to the media. So they gave him 24 hours, and he was supposed to speak to the media before the game yesterday. I do not know if he did, but I know he was scheduled to. So
another thing I heard about this weekend was a couple of Rays also used the bats, and my joke was, were they left over at Steinbrenner Field? Is that why they're using them? Or
maybe that's right. Maybe they will. I think the Red Sox used them in preseason and spring training, but they did not use them in this weekend series with the Rangers. We'll see. The torpedo bat, unfortunately, is now going to become front and center.
You mentioned the Marlins, though. I thought they had the most competitive weekend of all the teams because they really gutted out their couple of wins there against Pittsburgh.
They had a couple of walk-off wins, and they're 3-1, so we'll see how long that lasts.
I had made the joke opening day that it's going to be Marlins White Sox because they both won on opening day. And, you know, the White Sox, look, they're actually doing okay. And then a rain delay hits. I don't know if they won yesterday or not. But
no, they did lose that game.
I mean, what fortunes for that team, man. It's just crazy. Yeah. Anyway.
The over and under in Vegas is 53.5. I think I told you some baseball people like Steve Phillips and Buster Olney don't think they can hit 45.
Mm.
So,
All right. Well, let's get to a guy who won't need a torpedo bat anytime soon, and he's on the Mets, and he silenced his critics after striking out to end the first opening day with a monstrous home run. The next night, I'm of course talking about Juan Soto, and yes, I align myself with the Yankees media community, whatever, a little more than the Mets. But I'm going to report on this guy because he's a sports story. He's a New York sports story, and I wouldn't be doing this podcast justice if I didn't talk about him just because he left the Yankees. The guy's a story, Lou, and every moment he has in the Mets pinstripes is going to be looked at very closely, wouldn't you say?
of course, he plays for a New York team that gets a lot of attention, that has a loyal and large fan base. And obviously, I don't care what anybody says. Yes, their rivals in the division are the Phillies and the Braves, but their rivals are also the Yankees. And if anybody thinks that's not true, that Yankees, Mets, Mets, Yankees, there's not. Everybody's looking at what the other team is doing. They're out of their mind.
This move puts it back on the map, though, because Judge Soto is such a marketable matchup. You know, ESPN, and all these outlets are going to be all over that matchup when it comes May and June and
whatnot. No question about it. There are different type of players. Obviously, Judge is more of a home run hitter. Soto hit his career high last year, and he was a left-hand batter, as we've talked about in the past. Had the short right field porch last year. I don't think he's going to hit 41 home runs this year. He could have a better year, but that doesn't mean he's going to hit 41 dingers. I think, though, people gloating, criticizing, making focus of that last at bat against against the Astros. I mean, that was ridiculous. But whatever. I mean, if fans want to get on them, fine. I mean, Yankee fans, myself, I think they're entitled.
Here we go. I'm waiting for this.
I think they're entitled. They got to get every great player. If they don't get every great player, something's wrong. No team has utilized and outspent for more free agents since it started back in 1975, than the Yankees. He decided to play for the Mets, and that was his decision. We'll see, but it was just ridiculous that they made such a big deal out of one at bat, out of 600 at bats this guy's going to get this year.
Yeah. But you know what I'm going to notice? I want to notice about this Met team too is how different the culture is, because I felt like when Soto was in the Yankee lineup, they were so much more patient at the plate. They drew their walks. They were able to not swing at everything, and I think Soto teach that a little bit. I think he's going to do the same in Queens. They might have a lot more walks this year, Lou, because of that kind of patience Soto preaches.
Well, that definitely could be. I mean, that could be contagious. And even against Josh Hader, when Hader struck him out, he was ahead on the count 3-0. I thought he was going to get the swing sign on 3-0. I really did. He didn't. Maybe he did, but he decided not to swing. And you saw him swing at a pitch that usually an undisciplined hitter swings at. So that the fact that he swung at that pitch that was way outside, he must have been fooled by the motion. And, Josh Hader is a terrific pitcher. That's why they're paying him $15 million a year. But he's fine. I mean, the other questions about the Mets, do they have enough pitching? And they pitched very well this weekend, both the starters and the bullpen. Holmes was okay. He was nowhere near like he was in Florida during spring training. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll add a pitcher during the course of the season.
All right. One of the storyline to me, the other one about this opening weekend is the Dodgers are 5-0. When will they get their loss, Lou? It's got to come at some point, right? They're not going to go 162-0. That's impossible.
No, I mean, I think the Dodgers, if they keep their foot on the gas pedal, could win 110, 111 games. I really do. Their bullpen is unbelievable. Their lineup is unbelievable. They're the heavy favorites. They should be. But will they lose a game? Yeah, they're going to lose. That's the one thing about baseball. You're going to lose at least 55 to 60 games every year, no matter how good you are. So So they'll lose games, but yes, they've gotten off to a good start.
I'd say. All right, one last baseball trivia for you here. Do you know what yesterday was? And as my dad's was a Cub fan, felt like I had to acknowledge. You know what happened on March 30th, 1992?
March 30th, 1992. So usually baseball seasons didn't start to April, but that one I guess must have started in March.
Oh, it was actually a transaction more than anything else. It was actually a trade that happened in the Windy City that brought Sosa to the Cubs.
You beat me to it. I was going to say between the two Chicago teams.
Yes, between the crosstown rivals. And what a historic move that ends up being, right? But that happened on that date, 1992. So.
The White Sox lost that trade.
Oh, in a lot of ways, I would say.
And that's why you really don't make trades with your in-city rival. You really don't. I don't care what the sport is, because that blew up in the White Sox face.
It really did, and we'll have to see. Well, we did see how that happened. We'll have to see what other trades go down, and we'll have to see how the crosstown conversion goes for Soto in the long run. I mean, he's got 15 years here, so we'll have to see how that.
He does have 15 years, but again, he does have an out after 5, so it might be just 5 years. So we'll see.
Yes, we will. All right, Lou. I know you want to talk about hockey as well, because the grade 8 is literally 5 goals away or 4 goals away now, at least from tying him and then passing him. We've talked about it. To get it this year was unthinkable at the start of the season.
It was unthinkable. He got off to a fast start, and then he broke his leg, and he missed 16 games. And I thought he was going to miss much more than that. And when he came back from the broken leg, he started scoring again, picked up where he left off. He's the greatest goal scorer I've ever seen. He is in an era where scoring is not like it was in Gretzky's time, and of the the 80s and 90s. Can he do it this year? Yeah, he's got 9 or 10 games left to score 5 goals. He can do it. It's going to make it interesting for these last 3 weeks, not only with the Ovechkin race to become the all-time NHL goal scorer, but to see which one of these very, very flawed teams gets that last playoff spot in the East. You got Montreal, you got the Blue Jackets, you got the Red Wings, you got the Islanders, and you got the Rangers. None of them are above 500 in the last 10 games. They're all bunched up. Montreal has a 2-point lead on the Rangers. They also have a game in hand on the Rangers. Montreal had lost 5 in a row, and you figured they would have lost 6 in a row, but somehow they won down in Florida against the Stanley Cup champions yesterday. I still think the Rangers will sneak in, but the Rangers are very fortunate that the teams around them are playing just as bad as they are. So that's going to go right down to April 17th, Alex. I really believe that. The other thing about hockey that is really driving me crazy, and it's cost the Islanders at least 2 points in the standings, maybe 3, is this goaltender interference. They were absolutely jobbed out of a win with 9 seconds to go last week against the Canucks. And the week before that, Montreal was credited with a goal that was incredibly more obvious as goaltender interference than the bogus call last week on Kyle Palmieri. So that's 2 points right there that the Islanders would have gotten. So that's how close this is. But the NHL has addressed goaltender interference. Smith used to stick on guys because he wasn't beating time. They got to get up. They got to get a grip on this goaltender interference. It's really that was a joke the other night. So of course the Islanders win. Put them ahead with 9 seconds to go, and that's a point they didn't get.
Lou, does anybody want that second wild card spot though? I mean, seriously, I feel like no one wants it, as people have been pointing out. So.
It looks like no one wants it. I still think the Rangers are going to get it. But the The Blue Jackets might. Hey, the Blue Jackets. It looks like they're going to turn it around, and they haven't. Uh, I think the Rangers are going to sneak in. I really do. I think they'll get that last spot. And if they don't, what's the future of Coach Lavalette? If the Islanders don't get in, what's the future of Patrick Roy? I mean, I'm surprised that he hasn't put more of his stamp on the Islander team. I thought they'd be more detailed, oriented on the ice. Just too many bonehead plays on the ice. No attention to these little things that separates winning from losing. Obviously, their power play and their penalty kill are horrendous, and that's cost them a playoff spot for sure. So just we'll see if they don't make it, Alex. What's going to happen? Ranges from President Trophy to out of the playoffs, or even to the 8th spot. Again, even the Devils. Now the Devils have lost their best defenseman. They've lost Jack Hughes. Next year, yeah, it's a great they have a lot of young talent, but next year they gotta make that big jump. I don't expect them to be a Stanley Cup deep run, make a deep run in the Cup, but next year they got to be a contender. So I wonder what General Manager Tom Fitzgerald thinks of his team in the offseason. Yes, they're going to get those injured guys back and use as a point of game guy, but that's going to be an interesting also team to look at in the offseason. So the 3 local hockey teams, keep a close eye on them.
Well, guess what? I'm hoping it keeps us an eye. I'm hoping to take Gabby to Newark and see the Rangers play the Devils. But we'll see. It's a bit of a hike from the train to the arena, so we got to see how that's going to work out. But one can dream to get there. Because look, it's going to be a pivotal game Saturday. It is. It really is.
It is, and even though the Devils have a little cushion, they would love to knock the Rangers out. They would
You
love
talk about a rivalry, and I often felt the Devils-Ranger rivalry was so strong. But I don't know, when they left the arena and moved further into Jersey, it wasn't the same. I mean, literally, you could just take a bus over to Continental Airlines Arena for that matchup, or a bus to the Garden, and now it's all different.
Yeah, it is. It might be a little bit different, but I think it's still, it's obviously it is intense. I don't think it's as intense as Rangers Islanders, which I think is the best rivalry in New York sports when they play on the ice. So the Devils will try to will do everything in their power to knock them off. And here, I got to really give, and we've talked about him in the past, but I got to give a plug to Nico Hischier. That guy has a little bit of Brian Trottier in him. I mean, he's a two-way player. He reminds me of Trottier a little bit. He's the captain. They have so much talent. They really just got to get over that hump and go deep in the playoffs. They really have a good roster. So we'll see. We'll see how far they can go without their best defenseman in Dougie Hamilton, without their best player in Jack Hughes. We'll see how far they can do.
Absolutely correct. We'll have to see. It'll be fun. And then, it's funny, the Capitals were the first team to clinch the playoff spot because they're the highlight right now in this whole thing. On the Western side of things, though, I mean, we should cover them for a minute because the Oilers are just disappointing. And I know I talk about it every year, but it's just not. With Connor McDavid, how do you rank that low in the West? I just don't understand it, Louis.
Well, everything, and he's missed the last week. That the playoffs are going to be everything to them. They got to again make another deep run. I don't think they're going to get to the Stanley Cup final like they did last year. I actually have more confidence in the most popular Canadian team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, to finally go deep into the playoffs. John Tavares is having a great second half of the year. He really is, and he's on the now. He's really on the Hall of Fame path. But for the Maple Leafs, it's all about the playoffs. If they flame out in the playoffs and lose to the Panthers or the Lightning, it's failure. It's failure. I mean, Alex, I was 14 years old the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs won the cup, and let me tell you, buddy, that was a long, long time ago.
Austin Matthews though is killing it, and I know he had that rough final against Canada, but hey, I still want to see the guy succeed. He's a great player.
He's a fantastic player, and and by the way,
half of that stuff against Canada was on his fault. Binghamton was on his head the whole freaking time.
No, you're 100% right. It's not that he missed a wide open net or anything. They got a great team. William Nylander has 42, 43 goals. Matthews did. Tavares. I know this guy is underrated. Mitch Marner. I mean, the guy's a great player. He played for Team Canada. He scored a goal in overtime against Sweden to win that game in the Four Nations. He's a great passer. He can penalty kill. He can score on a power play. He can score 5-on-5. Oh, I would love to have him on the Islanders. Oh my God, I really would. But again, the pressure's going to be on come playoff time.
By the way, I'm rocking O'Hara's today because it's the Shamrock. It's the last day of March. This is always St. Patrick's Day month, so why not end it with a little bit of a Shamrock? Just gotta.
And you know what, Alex? You look great in that shirt.
Thank you. All right, one other thing, and we got to cover it. Basketball. I mean, look, we've said it time and time again, but the Karl-Anthony Towns trade is just brilliant. And then I see people saying how they miss Dante. And look, if you kept Dante with this team, they would be electric. There's no doubt about it. But I would take Towns over Dante. I really would.
There's no comparison. I mean, Dante DiVincenzo fit the Knicks last year, no question about it. But no, Karl-Anthony Towns may not be a great defender, but he's an excellent rebounder. He can hit the three. He can score off. He can put the ball on the floor for a guy that big. He can score. No. And don't worry about. By the way, did you see Dante DiVincenzo get into a huge fight last night? There was a huge fight between.
Oh my God!
Pistons
I thought Ron Artest Meta World Peace was there.
Well, unbelievable of the stands, and that's where it's going to be interesting to see what Adam Silver does as far as discipline. I mean, a bunch of guys got thrown again. I think 5 players
there.
And 2 coaches. Yeah, no, I remember that night. I was watching live that night.
I know it's about 20 years ago already. That's crazy. Yeah. Time's flying, but
I think it was 2004.
Yeah, about 21 years ago, and I got a flashback of that. And by the way, I really thought the Brewers were going to plunk one of these guys before they left town. I really was waiting for that, but it didn't happen.
You know what? I'm surprised that they did it. That's true. So there was no brawl in the Bronx, but there was a brawl in the NBA last night.
And the one last interesting thing about all this is that Detroit's actually doing better than they have in previous years. And when teams are successful, it pisses off people. So
well, I mean, I think last year they won 14 games, and what's happened is they've gotten all these young. They've had these draft picks. They've hit on some of these draft picks, and now they've learned how to play at the NBA level. So they've done a great job. The Houston Rockets have done a great job. Ime Udoka has just done a fantastic coaching job with the Rockets, who 2 years ago won 22 games, and their next one will be number 50. That's tremendous. So shout out to those guys.
Udoka wasn't he in the running for the Nets job or had the net job?
Well, he was a net assistant coach, went to Boston, had that incident with someone in the Celtics organization, and then the Nets were going to hire him, but backed off, and then they hired Jordi Fernandez, who's done an outstanding job. I mean, they're winning games with a G League team when I really don't want to see them win games because I want to see them be in position to get a Cooper Flag, which they're not. But Cooper Flag, by the way, and we'll finish here. Cooper Flag is better than I thought. He's getting better every game. Duke is the most talented team left. I don't know if they're going to win, but every one of those guys are so good. And John Shire has done such a fantastic job with this team. They could lose to a veteran team, a team more, that's a little deeper, like a Florida, like an Auburn, who's more of a veteran team. But it's going to be an interesting. It'll be an interesting Final Four. Alex, you do have the 4 best teams really left.
So. There were ones for a reason. Now we got to see where it gets carried to. So, all right, Lou, loved our chat today. I feel like there's so much more we can unpack, but we'll do that next time as the Final Four hits here. Juan Soto's opening appearance in Flushing this week. I mean, look, it's just fun, and it's just rolling. And by the way, I hope if I get to a game this week, Crutch is not breaking, right? I hope.
I felt so bad for you. I knew you were going to the game Saturday. So, as you know, I texted you after those 3 home runs. And I said, I hope you were sitting in your seat to see this history. And then you texted me saying, I broke my crutch on the LIRR. So sorry about that, my friend.
Can't make it up. You can't make that up. All right. But my point to finish off here is what I was going to say is this. If I'm the reason they lose the first game of the season, I might not show up to the same the rest of the way. Okay? I really want them to win when I'm there. Okay. I don't want to be there when they lose their first game.
Yeah, well, don't worry. If you're there and they lose the first game, it's not because of you. That I could tell you. It won't be because of you.
And I see Jazz posted up about the bats, by the way. I don't know if this is breaking news. Seems to be having some breaking news. He just said 14 minutes ago, sounding off about the Yankees torpedo bats. He said, okay, explanation. The barrel is bigger and within MLB regulations. Jazz went on to write, for the idiots that say it's moved to the label, you're an idiot. No one is trying to get jammed up. Just move the wood from the parts you don't use to the parts you do. You're welcome. No more stress for y'all. So there you go.
The torpedo bats will become part of this early part of baseball season for sure. There's no doubt about it.
So it'll be fun. All right. It'll be something to watch. Torpedo Gate, I guess we'll call it. So
yeah.
Lou,
again, it's something that Major League Baseball just has to keep an eye on. They don't want to make a mockery of the game.
No, not at all. Always a pleasure, Lou. We'll have to see what happens. And we don't want to have a steroid era thing where everybody starts criticizing the league and the players. We don't want that to happen again. So.
No, we don't want to do that, especially in a sport that has revered long-time records. And if they start getting skewed, it's not good. But Alex, always a pleasure. Thank you very much. And I look forward to next week.
Yes, sir. Indeed. All right. Thanks so much, Lou Terminello, on the Alex Garrett's One Leg Up Network.